Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about the futur simple in French and how it works. First things first, what's really kind of interesting to know is in the future tense in French, there's an R. I know this sounds like really crazy, like why is this even important? You're going to see later it's really important because before we have the ending in our verb, there always has to be an R. And if you don't have an R, your verb is not correct yet. So I just want to show you something. This is kind of neat. My French teacher in high school, he taught this to me and I think this is kind of fun. The whole idea, he's like, you know, the futures are really rough. And so he'd always like write the word future and have like this dinosaur dragon out of the R. He's like, rough future, I don't know, whatever. But you think about it, it's actually kind of neat. So what I've done is I've written out the verb danser and all of the different verb tenses that I think apply to this idea here. And anything that's in the present or the past, even just with the verb danser, there's no R, as you guys can see. There's no red R. But in the future, everything in the future here, there's an R somewhere. So if, let's say when you guys are conjugating your verbs and you're trying to make a sentence using the future simple, if you do not have an R, you are making a mistake because right away we can see there is an R in every verb tense in the future, even if the verb starts with an R or not. Had this been a verb that started with an R, then yeah, like they all would have had an R at the beginning, but really interesting that the presence of the R is like so pronounced in the future and in the present and the past it's not there. So again, just something to remember. You need the R before you can have your ending. So the next thing, we have two different future tenses. Sometimes it can be kind of confusing which one to use. I personally like the future proche because I just find it easier to use. And it just feels a little bit less formal, which is why I think it's kind of nice. It just kind of rolls off the tongue, it comes out. But the title future simple is a bit of a misnomer because it really should just be called like future really hard to make. Because although it actually looks simple, this one is actually much easier to make. So don't be confused by the two of them. Typically though, the future simple is for things that are closer and near to us in time, and the future simple is for events that are further away in the future. So if you're 10 and you're talking about your retirement, you're not going to use the future proche because that would just be kind of weird because you'd be like, you're not retiring at age 11. So the future simple is for stuff further on in time. Okay, so generally speaking, to make the future simple is the very first rule is we write the entire verb. If it ends in ER or IR, you write the entire verb, and then actually, I forgot to write this in. And then afterwards, you use avoir in the present tense. We have a few exceptions, so let me just back up. Verbs with ER and IR, you take the entire verb, which feels really weird because you're like, why am I not taking letters off? Like, there's always something to take off. But in those two regular verbs, ER and IR, so for example, like aimer and choisir, is the entire verb. And then you take the present form of avoir, and I'm going to show you guys this in a minute, and you just plunk it at the end. And then you're done. That's the verb tense. It feels more complicated than it should be when it's that simple. The next few stages get more complicated. With RE verbs, because again, like I showed you with the red R, there always has to be an R. There's a final letter right before the endings in every verb in the future simple. So with RE verbs, you just simply take off the E, right? Because no E, now there's an R. Kind of nice and easy. So this is what it actually looks like. So for example, manger is a nice regular verb in the future simple. So I've got over here in black, I have my pronouns. These are my people words. And then the red is just, as you guys can see, it's an ER verb. It's just the entire verb manger, just written down. Then this here in blue, it's the present form of avoir. So like normally it'd be like j'ai, tu as, il a, elle a. Like I have, you have, he has, she has. So minus the pronouns, I've just taken the whatever and plugged it right onto the end. And there's my sentence. It's now, well, not my sentence, but there's my verb and it's now conjugated. What is in red is what we call the root, right? That's the beginning of the verb. And then the stuff in blue, that's my ending. And there's my entire verb conjugated. So, je mangerai would literally be, it's like, I will eat. Even though on its own, A is have. So you're thinking, you're like, I eat, have. Yes, you're right. Like, word by word, it makes no sense. But when we plug it together, think of it like an expression. It has, like, new meaning. So, like, je mangerai is I will eat. Tu mangeras is you will eat. Il mangera is he will eat. So, with an IR verb, again, it's the same thing. It's kind of nice because, again, with IR, we just plunk down the entire verb, and then we just take avoir, we put it down at the end, and it's now conjugated. So again, je choisirai would be like I will choose. Tu choisiras is you will choose. Il choisira, he will choose. So where it gets a little more complicated is when we have RE verbs. So again, we just take off the E because otherwise it would be like vendrier, and they don't like that sound. So it's just vendré. So again, remember there's always an R right before the blue, right before the ending in every verb in the future simple. So again, je vendrai would be like I will sell. Tu vendras is he will sell. And so the idea of will is actually implied in the ending. sell is just the verb itself in the middle. So again, it's super confusing because then you think, but this doesn't mean will, this means have. And you're like, yes, it does. You're correct. This is stupid. You are smart. This is just a little bit messed up. So really true, like I will sell, even though it's like I have to sell. I don't know. Fair enough. Okay. We have some exceptions though, and this is where it gets a little frustrating because again, you think, well, they all have an R in them, so why couldn't they have just left it? Like, and you're right, because they should have. They should have just been like, je pouvoirais, and that would have been great. Or like, je vouloirais, and to us as, you know, French language learners, that would have been great. It would have been fine. But French people are like, no, let's make this a little messy. So what happens is être, for some reason, like really, had we just followed the rule, had it ended in RE, we just taken away the E, and it would have been like, jetterai, and that I actually think sounds kind of nice, but you're not allowed to have that. Instead, they just take out a whole bunch of letters and put in a whole bunch of new stuff, and now it's je serai. You might actually start to see in here a little bit of the Spanish coming out, which is kind of neat. If you speak Spanish, then this makes this part a little easier. But again, confusing that now our root for être is not etr, it's ser. It's a totally new word. So if I want to say I will be, it's je serai. And then for like avoir, instead of taking off like, actually instead of just having all of avoir, we could have had like j'avoirai, and it would have been fine. French people are like, no, j'aurai. And you're like, but that looks dumb. Yes, it does. And then with faire, again, we could have just taken off the E and have like je ferai. But then they're like, no, let's make it je ferai. So again, kind of silly how all of these exceptions are so frustrating. Let me just say them each. Let me just say each of them so you know the pronunciation. So it'll be like, for example, je serai, j'aurai, je ferai, je pourrai, je voudrais, je viendrai, je verrai, over here, and then je saurai, j'essayerai, je recevrai. With rain, because I can't personally rain, that's weird, it would have to be il, so it's going to be like, il pleuvra. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, sorry, il pleuvra. And then aller, so like if I'm going to go, so j'irai, and then devoir, je devrai. So these are our exceptions. If I can scroll down, perfect. So just to show you the last one, so again, even if it's an irregular verb, we still have the endings, like the stuff I have in blue, still from the verb avoir. We just have a different root. Endings are the same, root is different. So the nice thing about the future simple is that it's not like the passé composé or some of the other compound verb tenses where if like you're a girl, you might have to add an E, and if you're plural, you add an S. So the endings don't change. These are the endings. They're fixed. So hopefully that helps. And the other nice thing I forgot to mention too is that the roots for the future simple are the same as the roots for the conditional. So once you put in the time to memorize the roots for one, you've already put in like half the work for the roots for the other verb tense. So, all right, good luck. Thanks.